Crime and Cocktails. Long time no see. I took a little break, but I'm back, and we're back with the festive drinks this week. And for the next couple of weeks during the holiday season, I am in my festive shirt, and we are going to start with a festive drink. So this week we are going to be talking about the case of Michelle and Martin Macneill, and we are going to be making the Grinch's Margarita. So before we get started, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's just get into this week. All right, so like I said, this week we are going to be making the Grinch's cocktail. The Grinch's Margarita. So for the cocktail, you will need triple sec. You will need some of this lime juice, the Rose's lime juice, some strawberries to muddle inside and for garnish, lime, sugar. If you have regular sugar, that's better, but I only had raw sugar. It's just to line the glass, and you mix it with some green food coloring, so hence the Grinch. And then ice cup, and I think we got everything, so let's get on with the case. So what I'm going to be starting with is cutting up some strawberries and then muddling them and adding the lime juice. So Michelle Summers, which is Michelle Macneill when she marries Martin, she was born in Concord, California, and that is up north. She was born in 1957. She was a straight A student. She was a cheerleader, homecoming queen. She was just your basic, everyday, amazing sister, daughter, high school student. So she was also a part of the LDS Church, which is the Latter-day Saints Church, and that is where she would meet Martin. Now, Martin was, he was born in 1956. He was a doctor, a law student. He served in the military, but got discharged due to mental health reasons. So he was getting the veterans benefits, like $3,000 per month. And in the church event that they met at, they like instantly connected and fell in love, and they eloped really quickly. So they actually eloped on February 21st, 1978. So 4 months after they eloped, Martin would serve a 6-month jail sentence for identity theft and forgery and fraud. So that should have been a big red flag there, but to each their own. So he served that jail sentence, and by 2007, they looked like this stereotypical perfect family. Martin and Michelle looked like they were so in love. They had 4 kids of their own, and they had adopted 4 kids. So they had 8 kids altogether. They looked like they were living the life. But on the inside, it was completely different. So for the first, obviously, couple years, they were getting along. They loved each other. It was all brand new. They had adopted the 4 kids. They had their 4 kids. So behind closed doors, Martin was pretty dissatisfied with his marriage. He would complain and hint that he wanted a divorce, but they would never get one. And Michelle started to suspect that he was having an affair because he was worrying more about his appearance. He was going on 50 years old, so it wasn't like, oh, now I'm going to be in the prime of my life, you know. So he was going to the gym more. He was going to the tanning salon, like worrying about his appearance. And Michelle definitely thought that he was having an affair with somebody, but she confronted him a lot of times. And instead of him admitting it, he would turn it back on her and say like, hey, you should be worrying about your appearance a little more. You know, you're getting older, and maybe you should work out more, or maybe you should get a facelift. Working out, facelift, same thing, right? Anyways, so in March of 2007, like I said, Martin just suggested a facelift, which that is so rude. For a husband to go to his wife and was like, hey, sweetie, I think you should get a facelift. You know, you're looking pretty saggy these days. Anyways, she was very reluctant. She was going on 50 years old. She had high blood pressure. She didn't want to get a facelift. She thought she was fine, and she was worried about how she would recover or if she would have any complications during the surgery. But eventually, with Martin just insisting and insisting that she get this facelift, she agreed. So it was actually said in the trial later that Martin was actually the one to tell the surgeon which medication to prescribe her. Oh my goodness. To prescribe her after. So he told the surgeon, like, hey, give her this, this, and this. And the surgeon, I don't know how, but he just was like, okay, that seems good, because Martin is this doctor, and he was listed as her primary doctor, so he must have her best interest. Sadly, that was not true. So this facelift was performed on April 3rd, 2007, and it looked like it went pretty well. She was released the next day. Martin was listed as her caregiver, so he was basically the one with the medications, the one that was obviously going to take care of her and just be there for her recovery. But the next day after she was released, Alexis, their oldest daughter, had come home for a break from medical school and found her mom just out of it. She looked like she had no idea who she was, where she was. She wasn't talking, and Alexis obviously was like, what the heck is going on with my mom? Like, what did you do to her? So she asked her dad, like, what the heck happened? Why is mom unresponsive? And Martin said, oh, I must have given her too much medication. Just like, that's just like an accident, which, another red flag. So Alexis was like, okay, since obviously you don't know what you're doing, even though he's supposed to be a doctor, I'm going to be giving mom the medication while I'm here, while I'm on break. So that is what she did. The next day, she would give her mom the medication, and Michelle was getting she was growing suspicious of Martin. She thought she was getting drugged on purpose, and Martin was trying to kill her, basically. And so she told Alexis that she wanted to feel the medications, because after a facelift, you're obviously all all wrapped up, and you have iPads on. So she never really knew what Martin was giving her. She just figured, this is my husband. I did this facelift for him to fix our marriage. He is taking care of me, and that was it. But as the days went on, Michelle grew very suspicious of Martin. So she asked Alexis to feel the medication so she would know what medication was being given to her, even after Michelle would go back to medical school. So she also told Alexis, if anything happens to me, make sure it wasn't your dad. There were so many red flags in this case that I couldn't, So obviously Alexis was like, me? Suspicious of my father? Okay. So she showed her mom how to figure out what medication it was, and she gave her medication every day that she was there from break, and that was that. She looked like she was recovering well, so she left back to medical school. So on April 11th, Martin picked up his youngest daughter, Ada, from school. They went home, and Martin told Ada to go check on her mom. So Ada, she went upstairs, and she found her mom face down in the master bathroom in the bathtub with her head under the water. So she started screaming, obviously. She's young. I think she was like 6 years old. And it's not funny, just, she's young. And so she definitely ran down, and she's screaming her head off like, Dad, Mom is under the water. She's not responsive. I don't know what to do. So Martin goes up there. He sends Ada over to the next door neighbor to obviously alert them, and he calls 911. You can hear the 911 tapes all over the internet. He just sounds so angry at the 911 operator, and she's just trying to help him, and he keeps saying, I'm doing CPR, but he's not doing CPR. He didn't even pull her out of the water. And he would later say that I couldn't get a grasp of her to get her out of the water, but the neighbor later will say, like, when I went into the house, Michelle was so tiny that he could have picked her up without any force. So Martin calls 911, keeps hanging up, the ambulance arrive, and so Michelle would end up being declared dead the next day. I definitely forgot to mention this. You definitely need tequila. I forgot mine in my bag, but I have it. So you'll need an ounce of that. So where was I? When the autopsy was done, Michelle's death was ruled as just natural, and it was due to cardiovascular disease. So that was it. It was just ruled as just a natural death, like no suspicious activity, no foul play, nothing. But immediately, their kids were definitely suspicious, and Michelle's family was like, no, she never had any issues with this disease before, so how did it randomly just come and she died from it? So they were all definitely suspicious of it, and what made it even more suspicious is that Alexis would ask the dad, Martin, where mom's pills were, and he said, oh, I asked Damien, which is the son, and his girlfriend to flush them down the toilet because they just made me so sad. Red flag, another one. So Damien and his girlfriend, the son, flushed the pills down the toilet, and only 3 days after Michelle died, Martin held her funeral and didn't allow any of her family to come, and threatened to call the police if any of them were to even go near the gravesite or the funeral itself. But you know who was there? His mistress. That's awkward. So his mistress, Gypsy Willis, was there, and she will come to play a little later, but she was there. So the funeral is held, and everything seems to be done, finished. The cause of death is still natural. It's not even being looked upon, but Michelle's family is not giving up. Michelle's kids aren't giving up, which would be Martin's kids too, but they're so suspicious of their dad. They're like, that guy did it, you know? So they are going to the governor, the police, the FBI, anybody that will listen to reopen Michelle's case and look farther into it. So right after the funeral, Martin moves Gypsy Willis into the house. First as a nanny, because they have younger kids, and Alexis, the oldest sister, was like, who's gonna take care of them now that mom's gone? Because Michelle was really the primary one that took care of the kids. She loved being a mother, and without her, who's gonna take care of the kids? And Martin was like, don't worry, I got this nanny. Her name's Gypsy Willis. And Alexis, right off the bat, was like, I know who Gypsy Willis is. You've been cheating on her, or cheating on mom with her. That is your mistress. That is not a nanny. So obviously Alexis, Rachel, which is the younger sister, are automatically suspicious of their dad. But every time they confront him, he's like, get out of my house. If you're not going to respect Gypsy, you can't be in my house. You guys are kicked out. Like, leave us alone. I'm going to pause to shake this, and then we will continue. All right, I'm back. So Martin, my guy Martin, boy, was he a piece of work. So after Michelle passed away, Martin allowed Gypsy Willis to move in, become the nanny, and steal his daughter's identity. Gypsy owed a lot of money in taxes, and they thought the way out of it was to steal his daughter Giselle's identity and send her back to the Ukraine, which was only supposed to be a 2-month little getaway. That is where she's originally from. It was one of the adopted daughters. So she was thinking, oh, I'm only gonna go for 2 months, but Martin had no plans for her to come back. He thought that, I'm gonna let Gypsy become Giselle. So they went down to the Social Security office and like changed the name, changed the age, changed everything. So Gypsy became Giselle. And Giselle all this time was stuck in the Ukraine, living in horrible conditions. Jill, which is Michelle's niece, actually was the one to go to the Ukraine and get Giselle back. In 2009, Martin and Gypsy would be arrested for this scheme. This is not open. For this identity theft scheme. And Martin would be sentenced to 4 years and Gypsy to probation because she had credited her time served. So he went away for 4 years, and during this time, they also found out that Martin falsified his school records to get into medical school. So technically, he shouldn't even have been a doctor in the first place. And so during this time, they found that out. So after Martin was released for the identity theft charges, he was rearrested, and these charges were for the murder of his wife. And the trial started on August 24th, 2012, where he pled not guilty to the murder of his wife. And during the trial, the surgeon actually did come out and say that he was told which medications to prescribe Michelle, and that he wouldn't usually prescribe this because of the toxic combination that it could produce. But he was thinking, oh, well, Martin's a doctor, so he wouldn't mix them so they would become toxic. So I have the list of prescriptions here. She was taking Valium, Ambien, Phenergan, Percocet, and Lortab, which are all central nervous depressants, and Martin knew that. Martin definitely knew what prescriptions he was giving his wife. I'm gonna try to open this and then I'll be right back. Right, got it open, not sure why that was so hard, but on November 9th, 2013, after 11 hours of deliberation, Martin was found guilty of first-degree murder on his wife and obstruction of justice, so he was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. This looks really cool. Let me see if I can show you guys. I know this is gonna stain the bowl and my mom is gonna be like, what the heck happened in there? But it's for a purpose, Mom. 60 years old, Martin Macneill actually committed suicide, and that was it. So while in jail, the daughters were actually adopted by Alexis, which is the oldest daughter, and Martin just rotted in prison until he killed himself. And I mean, it's not a happy ending, but I'm glad that the girls were able to stick together, and even the adopted daughters were able, obviously, to come back from the Ukraine, and Michelle's family, side of the family, really gathered around them. And Alexis actually changed her last name because she didn't want anything to be associated with Martin at all, and she didn't want her medical degree to even say his last name. So she actually changed her last name to Summers, which is Michelle's last name. And they all not lived happily ever after because they lost their mom, but they actually made it out better without their dad. Like, the dad got all the messed up stuff that he deserved, and which is crazy. I don't know. I think I saw this on like the Dr. Phil show a couple years ago. Gypsy Willis actually had a Dr. Phil episode, and Gypsy Willis might have been as crazy as Martin. She went on, she knew he was married. She went on and was like, she had no emotion, just nothing to be said about how Michelle died. She had really nothing to say. They kept in contact when they went to jail for the identity theft and when Martin went to jail for the murder. This girl is crazy. And she literally just, it's crazy. If you guys can watch it, it's the Dr. Phil episode. It's really, really crazy. So I suggest you all watch it. This looks so cool. So yeah, that's the end of the case. I'm gonna finish this drink and then I will be right back. All right, guys. This drink does not look appetizing. I hope it tastes better than it looks. I think with the green food coloring, it may have gotten a little too Grinchy looking, But I mean, for the aesthetic, I mean, the sugar rim green drink, it's cute, it's cute. But let's try it. That's not bad. Okay. Okay. Well, after one drink, you might have a green mouth and you might become the Grinch. So, oh my goodness. Well, I mean, the drink is good by itself. It just tastes like a margarita. So if you like margaritas, it's good. If you want a little more, the strawberries really don't come through. So if you want it a little more strawberry tasting, you will have to muddle a little more strawberries. But overall, it just tastes like a margarita with a sugar rim, which is pretty good. And then you'll have a green mouth. So you can get in all the festive activities with the green mouth and you can become the Grinch. So that is it for me this week. Check back next week because I will be very consistent this time. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks guys for joining me. Cheers.